The day Ghana beat Brazil. There are defeats and there are ghosts. 1993, Australia. A golden Ghanaian team stood one away from immortality, but the name across from them was Brazil. The score was 2-1, but it felt like a landslide. That wasn't just a loss, it was a scar, a heartbreak stitched into Ghana's football soul. 8 years passed, another team rose, another final came, and so did another heartbreak. 3-0. Argentina didn't just win, they crushed a dream. 2 finals, 2 near miracles, 2 gut-wrenching defeats. But this wasn't just about football, this was about belief, about Africa's right to stand tall. To finish the story, in Ghana, football isn't a game, it is a language, a religion, a promise whispered from father to son. And those goals from 93 and 2001, they didn't vanish. They lived in the soil, they lived in the shouts, they lived in every young boy who dared to dream. In 2009, one boy carried all of it, the past, the pressure, the prophecy. He wasn't just leading a team, he was carrying 2 decades of pain on his back. This wasn't just preparation, it was obsession, a mission to kill the curse before it killed another dream. They trained like soldiers. Some of them were barely crawling in 93. Some watched Argentina's 2001 victory from crumpled living rooms. But they all remembered, and in 2009, they didn't come to participate, they came to bury the past. They weren't just playing Brazil, they were confronting a ghost. 16 years of pain, 1 night to end the curse. The ghosts were waiting, but this time, Ghana was ready. October 2009, Ismailia. The hair was hot, but the pressure even hotter. They didn't come here to participate, they came to avenge ghosts. The first blow came early. It wasn't just a goal, it was a wake-up call. The world doesn't wait for your redemption arc. Or say, equalizer. Message received. Edia, calm, ruthless, clinical. They didn't just recover, they reloaded. Next up, England, the birthplace of football. A nation that never took African teams seriously. And in 90 minutes, they were taught a lesson. Ayew, Edia, or say, each touch was poetry, each finish a thunderclap. It wasn't a win, it was a warning. They didn't just beat a team, they crushed an ego. And then came chaos. Uruguay, built like street fighters. No fear, no mercy, 2-0 up, momentum building. But then, complacency, a flicker of weakness, and just like that, the fire was tested. A draw, not a loss, but a reminder. Greatness doesn't coast. 3 games, 7 points, top of the group, but numbers tell only half of the story. What Ghana was building wasn't just momentum, it was something sacred. Brotherhood, belief, a force bigger than football. They had shown they could fight, they could score, they could survive, but to make history, they would need something more. They had won the battle, now they had to win the war. Now came the real war. No more weak opponents, no more second chances. Every step forward was a step closer to eternity, or a quiet fade into history. It started with a civil war, brother against brother, Africa testing its own. They struck first, silenced the stadium, stole the rating from Ghana's boots. But greatness is forged in fire. Ayew, captain, warrior, 1-1. But the battle was far from over. This is where the game forgets tactics and remembers who is willing to bleed. Edia, again, the silent executioner. Even as one fell, the others locked arms, and together they refused to fall. South Korea, fast, precise, relentless. But Ghana was pure fire. The hunter struck first, then came Osei, sharp as blade. 2-0, Ghana flying. But this game, it had no script. Where panic rose, Ghana paused, reset, refused to fall apart. And again, Edia, the calmest man in the storm. Another storm survived, but the road was steepening. Then came Hungary, one final mountain before the throne. Finals aren't given, they are taken by force. Again, the executioner struck. 8 goals, the golden boot glimmered. But he wasn't chasing awards, he was chasing redemption. Then Kwanzaa, 9 from the wing, 3-1, Ghana dared to dream. But fate never folds quietly. Minutes felt like hours, breath held, time frozen. They made it. Finalists, again. But this time, there was unfinished business. 8 goals, 4 in the knockouts. Dominic Edia didn't just score, He arrived. He didn't glide like Zidane, didn't dazzle like Neymar, but when Ghana needed him most, he became the answer. This wasn't one man's match. This was a movement. In every position, a warrior stood guard. One game left, one dragon left to slay, one moment left to change African football forever. They had survived the fire. Now, they would face the gods. October 16, 2009. Cairo, 67,814 people, 100 million eyes, and one unthinkable question. Could an African team finally conquer the gods of football? Brazil, 5-time world champions, a machine built to win. They had beaten Ghana before, and they were expected to do it again. But Ghana didn't come to witness history. They came to rewrite it. From the first whistle, it was war. No space, no time, no mercy. Brazil danced. Ghana hunted. Every trick punished. The referee let the chaos reign, and chaos became Ghana's weapon. Chances came, missed by inches, denied by destiny, and then everything shattered. 1 second, one tackle, one red card. Daniel Addo sent off. Ghana down to 10 men. Brazil still had 11 gods on the pitch. Ghana's dream was on the edge, but they refused to fall. No panic, just adjustment. 4-1-3-2 became 4-1-3-1. Ayew dropped, Ajimamedu dropped, Ghana dug in. Brazil came in waves, Ghana became a wall. 10 men, one heart. Every blade of grass became a battlefield. Every second, a victory. Daniel Leje was no longer human. He was iron. Jonathan Mensah, the anchor, the lion, and the rest, soldiers in red, sacrificing breath, blood, and body. Extra time, the graveyard of giants. Still, they would not fall. The captain, running on soul alone, one leg, one heart, still leading. For 30 minutes, they didn't chase glory. They defended identity and everything it meant to be Ghanaian. 120 minutes, one man down, no goals conceded, no surrender. They had made the impossible real. Now came the most brutal test of all. The penalty shootout, where heroes are born, where destinies are written in fire or ash. The greatest youth final in African football history had only just begun. For 120 minutes, they survived. 10 warriors alone, the weight of a continent crashing their backs, tens of thousands watching, millions praying, history waiting. Now, it comes down to this, the penalty shootout, where legends rise or collapse into dust. Alan Kardec, Brazil's number 9. He's done this 100 times. He's built for this moment. Go! Brazil draw first blood. Andre Ayew, son of Abedi Pele, the boy born into greatness. Now, the weight of Ghana rests on his shoulders. He buries it 1-1, but no celebration. Not yet. He knows this war is far from over. Juliano, flashes of brilliance, no nerves. 2-1. Brazil keeps marching like a machine. And then, heartbreak. He hits the bar. A crack in the armor. Brazil leads 2-1. Fifth penalty. Brazil closes in. 3-1. Brazil one step from glory. Penalty 6. Still alive. Still fighting. 3-2. Maicon. If he scores, Ghana edges closer to defeat. He misses. The door opens. The stadium erupts. Eddie Year, the wonder kid. The fire in Ghana's heart. This is his moment. He shoots. Scores. Equalizer. Goal. 3-3. We are level. The momentum is shifting. Now, Ghana believes again. Brazil's free penalty. One kick to survive. One save to change everything. Teixeira shoots. AJ dives. Saves. AJ saves. A miracle in black gloves. Now, it's Ghana's destiny to claim. One kick for the team, for the coach, for Ghana, for Africa. His mother once told him he will score a goal the world will never forget. He scores! Ghana, world champions. For the first time in history, from Cape Coast to the Volta, from Soweto to Nairobi, Africa danced tonight. They didn't just win a title, they rewrote destiny. They were counted out, they were pushed to the edge, but they refused to fall. On this night, no more ghosts, no more curses, just glory. Ghana stood tall, and the world stood still. October 60 hit the net. It wasn't just a goal, it was release. It was relief. To go, Cape Coast to Wa, Ghana didn't sleep. For one night, nothing else mattered. This was a nation screaming to be seen and finally being heard. Silas Tete didn't celebrate like a coach. He mourned like a father who had seen him. He didn't just lift a trophy. He lifted every boy who had ever played barefoot. Every father who had passed down a dream. Every nation that had been mocked and now stood above them all. This wasn't just Ghana's story, it was Africa's shout. For once, Africa didn't feel like the underdog. Africa felt like the champion. No politics, no borders, just one continent rising together. Twice, Ghana had come close. Twice, they walked away with nothing. In 93, Brazil broke their spirit. In 2001, Argentina stole their dream. But in 2009, Ghana didn't flinch. They faced their giants again, and this time, they didn't blink. Dominic Edie, quiet killer, the one no one feared until it was too late. Andre Ayew, the leader, the soldier, the spark. They didn't just play, they inspired. They didn't just wear jerseys, they carried a continent. No hate, no grudges, only respect. Because real greatness doesn't dominate, it elevates. They came home like warriors, like royalty, motorcades, marching bands, millions in the streets. For one perfect moment, Ghana stood still. United, triumphant. The world called it a fairy tale, but for us, it was real. This wasn't just a moment, it was a message, a declaration to every young African boy. You don't need luck, you need belief. It didn't end in Cairo, it started there. The world called it a miracle, but in Ghana, we knew it was always destiny. They were called the Black Satellites, but on October 16, 2009, they became stars. They lifted the world, but where did the world take them? Fame is loud, but time is silent. The boys of 2009 were crowned as their future, but futures are unpredictable. Some soared, some stumbled, all were changed. Andre Ayew, the prince who stayed the course, he was the captain, the son of a king, Abedi Pele, but determined to write his own story. Andre Ayew delivered. He led Ghana to the final of the 2010 African Cup of Nations. Then, months later, to the quarterfinals of the World Cup in South Africa, a feat never seen before in Ghanaian history. He became the face of a generation, a leader, a fighter. Through highs and heartbreaks, he carried Ghana's hope with both hands. Europe saw his talent, but it was his heart that made him unforgettable. From a sports cake in Cairo to the Italian Serie A, Ajman Bedu became a pillar at Udinese, a midfield engine with heart, grit, and tactical intelligence. He wore the Ghana jersey with pride at the 2010 and 2012 AFCONs and on the World Cup stage. But injuries don't respect dreams, and over time, the battles caught up. Still, Bedu never stopped fighting, on and off the pitch. Jonathan Mensah, the quiet general. Jonathan Mensah never chased fame. He built a fortress, 2 World Cups, countless tournaments, a wall in defense, and eventually a leader in Major League Soccer, winning trophies with Colombo's crew. He didn't always speak loudly, but his game said everything. Samuel Inkum, the wandering right back, fast, fierce, fearless. Samuel Inkum burst from the under-20 stage like a lightning bolt. He played on 4 continents, adapted to every system, but never forgot where he came from. Today, he passes it on. Speed fades, but legacy doesn't. Dominic Edie, the star that burned too bright. He was the brightest star, top scorer, player of the tournament. The world was his to conquer. But talent isn't the only thing that shapes a career. Sometimes, it's timing, agents, chance, and decisions. He fought, he moved, he tried, but the spark that lit up 2009 never fully returned. He didn't become a superstar, but he will always be the one who made us believe. A generation forged in fire. They went in different directions. Some touched glory, some faced the storm, but all of them carried a piece of 2009 forever. They were a heartbeat away from the World Cup semi-final. One more miracle, one more kick, different stage, same dream, and again, so close. They were boys in 2009. Now, they are symbols of courage, of what is possible, of how dreams can be fragile and still worth chasing. They didn't all become superstars, but for one moment, they were invincible. And that moment, it changed everything. Time passes, faces disappear, new heroes come, but some victories never fade. October 16, 2009, the day Ghana beat Brazil and shook the world. Africa's first. No African team had done it. Not Nigeria, not Cameroon, not even Egypt. It was Ghana. 10 men, one dream, and a moment that would change African football forever. They didn't just win, they broke a wall. They demanded the world stop calling African talent raw and start calling it elite. This wasn't just luck, it was a system, a strategy. It was football played the Ghanaian way. They didn't chase Brazil, they outplayed them, outtaught them, outlasted them. Less than a year later, those same boys walked onto the biggest stage in football. 5 of them started games, 9 were on the squad. They were no longer kids, they were warriors. They had lifted Africa before. Now, they were ready to lift a nation's hopes. After 2009, something shifted from Accra to Kumasi to Tamale. The dream wasn't just Europe anymore. They weren't copying Ronaldo, they were copying themselves. This team made us believe our sons could do the impossible. 15 years later, no one has done it since. Others came close, but only Ghana crossed that line. Some of their careers didn't go the way we hoped. Some dreams faded, but for one summer, they were untouchable. Because sometimes the greatest glory isn't the one the world remembers, it's the one you never forget. 2009 wasn't a fluke. It was proof that Ghana could beat Brazil, outplay Europe, and rewrite history. Because before they were stars, they were kids, watching that final, holding their breath. This wasn't just a win, it was a torch, and it is still burning. They weren't just footballers, they were believers, fighters, champions of something bigger than themselves. So say their names, watch their goals, tell your children, because they proved that Africa was never behind. They were just waiting. Let the world forget, let new stars arise. But always remember, in 2009, Ghana didn't just win a title, they won belief, they won legacy, they won history. The Black Starlights, Africa's first, still the only. Some victories are louder than stadium roars, deeper than trophy lifts, wider than borders. They call it the Under-20 World Cup, but for Africa, it was something else entirely. When Ghana beat Brazil, it wasn't just Ghana that stood tall, it was Africa. From Cape Town to Casablanca, fans wept, danced, and believed. Because that night in Cairo, the Black Satellite didn't just lift a trophy, they lifted a continent's spirit. For decades, African youth players were seen as chaos, flair without structure, passion without plan. But in Egypt, Ghana told a different story. Tactical discipline, mental resilience, a structure built from belief and brilliance. They didn't just change the scoreline, they changed the narrative. Ayew didn't stop in Cairo. He carried the flame for over a decade, through wars on the pitch, through defeats, through resurrection. And every time he stepped on the field, every pass, every chant was a whisper from 2009. After 2009, a blueprint emerged, not just to play football, but to dream differently. Suddenly, youth football wasn't just a stepping stone. It was a weapon, a tool to challenge giants and win. That message began in 2009 and it's still echoing today. Senegal came close, Nigeria stood tall, but it was Ghana who opened the door. And once that door opened, Africa started walking through it, confident, unapologetic, because someone had already proven it could be done. There are no statues, no national day, but if you listen closely, you will hear them in every Ghanaian cheer, in every barefoot kick in Accra, in every defender who refuses to quit. They gave Africa more than a win. They gave it a template, a voice, a mirror. 15 years and still no African country has done it. Some say that's sad, but maybe it just shows how rare greatness is. And maybe the next one is already watching. They were boys, they became warriors, they became champions. They didn't ask for permission, they didn't beg for respect. They took it for Ghana, for Africa. And when the world forgets, we remind it. When they doubt us, we show them this tape. Remember their names, tell their story, because their footsteps echo still across a continent that dares to dream.